Let me bring Kwame Salter. Of course, as you know, he's been a guest on our show. He's president of the Salter Group, also author of two great books, and they're on our bookshelf. Go to joemadison.com. And Striving While Black, a playbook for the seriously ambitious, and Black Over White, Being the Boss. And again, I'm telling you, this is black or white, whoever you are. These are two books that you have got to read, you've got to study. But what really I wanted to bring Kwame back to talk about was an article in the Huffington Post, Diversity and Ethics, Key to Corporate Success. And I thought immediately about you, Kwame, because of your role in corporate America. And you had a chance, I hope, to read the article.
I did.
And let me get your first reaction to it.
Well, I thought it was a very, very laudable approach that Skanska, the company, is using, and Mr. Karlstrom is following. I think it's important that people in corporate America articulate the right direction for business, because business influences societal interactions and patterns. So I thought it was a good article. It's something we've been talking about for 50 years. And it just amazes me that corporate America, an organization, a culture that is driven by numbers, has not been able to achieve the numbers that it wants or says it wants to achieve in terms of diversity and strategic inclusion. It's just we keep talking about this, and if this was a sales initiative, the person responsible for hitting those numbers would have been fired.
He talks, and I'm reading this one paragraph. He calls it the focus on the 5 zeros. Now,
Right.
This is 0 accidents, 0 ethical breaches, 0 environmental incidents, 0 losing projects, and 0 deficits. There's a mission statement. And then leveraging a variety of tools, for example, the National Diversity Council.
Right.
And one of the things we were just talking about, this thing of going around the world looking for cheap labor, in what we used to call third world countries,
Right.
India, China, Vietnam, you name it. But isn't America in a unique position because we are a diverse country?
We're in a very unique position. You have to understand that the foundation of America's wealth is slavery and the exploitation of black labor. That's the foundation. And the foundation of the world's wealth is the exploitation of people of color. So this whole thing about diversity is a little bit strange, because we have created the wealth, but we don't necessarily benefit from the wealth. Again, let's go back to
His 5 zeros.
Yes, let's go back to 0 losing projects.
All right.
Well, you know what? As I said earlier, if diversity was a sales goal, whoever was responsible for hitting those targets would have been fired. We don't every year recycle the same goal. We say in corporate America, you hit your target. You're on budget. You're on target.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happened with diversity? Why is it a recurring theme every year, every decade, maybe every millennium? I'm not sure anymore. But I can tell you this. I have no problem with what he said. I think it's important. Periodically, we have leaders in corporate America who stand up and say this. But here's the way I look at diversity. There are 3 reasons why companies and businesses should be engaged in a diversity initiative.
And those 3 are?
Moral. There's a moral imperative.
All right.
You're taught to do the right thing. darn well when you walk into a company's corporate environment or office and you don't see any person of color, or you see just a sprinkling of people of color, it does not look like America. There's something wrong. You don't have to go and get metrics and figure out. You just say, wait a minute, I just left outside and there are all these black and brown people around me, and I walk inside this building and suddenly it's like I've just walked into a filter that filtered them out. What happened?
Right.
Something's morally wrong.
And can I stop you there? Hold on to
Yeah.
that point, and I'll tell you why. And I've seen this many times. I'll go into a corporate situation, and you'll see, let's say, a staff meeting, and I always say it looks like a Clorox commercial. Everything is white and bright.
Right.
Right. There's nobody of color sitting in that meeting. Maybe one. Maybe one, maybe if you're lucky, but for the most part. So what you're saying is you got something's wrong. You look in that
wrong.
you look in that
should know
room.
that intuitively.
Okay, go. All right, keep going. I'm sorry.
Intuitively.
Yeah.
So that's the first imperative, the moral imperative. Something's wrong. Shouldn't discriminate, exclude, exploit people. That's the second imperative. So even if you don't want to do it, even if you're not morally motivated to do it, then you should at least acknowledge the laws say we should do something.
All right.
The third imperative, and the imperative that we can all get our heads around, is the business imperative. You want to make money? Well, I got to tell you, the black purchasing power tops $1 trillion. And the most effective civil rights strategy we've ever had was the boycott. The day that black people wake up and realize that they're not in the hiring and promotion equation of business and they're only there to buy the business's products, they will then begin to leverage that $1 trillion of purchasing power. So the business case, which is not necessarily altruistic, it's just very pragmatic. You want to sell to us? Acknowledge that we exist. So those are the three imperatives, the moral, legal, and business imperative.
Now, in this article in Huffington Post, and it's called Diversity and Ethics, Key to Corporate Success.
Right.
One of the things that's said here, the CEO said, that we want to mirror the society we are in, and that's what you've talked about. But in Sweden, we do not. They talk about that Sweden, 20% of the population is of an immigrant or ethnic background, and that's not represented in his company yet. Now, but this is the reason he gave. Bringing people into the company and hiring them is not the hardest part. It's keeping and promoting them. The biggest threat to failure here is whether we think about people not in the old-fashioned way, that they have to look like me, and realize that they can actually look a little bit different. Now, you had that challenge.
Right.
In your, what was it, Kraft Food, correct?
Right, Kraft and Oscar Mayer.
And Oscar Mayer. You had that challenge. How did you overcome it or improved upon it?
Well, first of all, I used the three imperatives. There were some people who were motivated by the moral imperative. They said, you're right, Kwame, this is wrong. We don't need any measures. We just know it's wrong.
Okay.
There were other people who were motivated by legalistic issues.
By the law. Okay.
We don't want to be don't want to be sued. We don't want to be publicly embarrassed.
All right.
So let's do the right thing. But I tell you, the most powerful imperative.
I was going to ask
case.
you which was the overriding there. Go ahead.
The business case.
Mm-hmm.
Corporate America is in cutthroat competition. And corporate America's success is measured by three things: revenue, share, and volume. In other words, how much money do we make, profit? What share do we have of the consumer base? For example, if I'm selling Lunchables, we may have a 60% share of that category.
Right.
And volume, how much am I selling? Well, I just juxtapose the fact that we as a people, black people, spend over $1 trillion a year.
Right.
Do you want a piece of that? How do you get a piece of that? If you don't know how to market to black people, if you don't know what motivates black people, if you keep doing commercials like the one for Progressive where the woman walks in and says, Flo, where's Flo? Where's Flo? Now, all black women don't talk like that.
Right.
But somehow the perception of us has been defined by white people. In other words, in my book, I said the nigger is a white creation. It's a role written, produced, and directed by white people. And no one has played it better than the Negro. We know we don't act that way, but in order to get jobs, even in the entertainment business, we have to project an image that's comfortable for white people. So what I always said was, look, forget about color in terms of their skin. Do you want the money? And if you want the money, you have to respect the customer.
Mm-hmm. But then you have to know the customer, don't you?
Therefore, you need people within your organization who come from that background and experience.
Now, let me tell you what I know also about your book and why I highly recommend it. Everybody of color ain't your kind. So you can get people, you hire them for the purpose of saying, look, forget the Flow commercial. That, as you say, you create those characters. We don't create those characters. But you've got to have the kind of person, do you not, who will speak up, who will speak truth to power.
We used to have an old adage we used back in the 70s. All that glitters is not gold, and all that's black is not soul. So when you think about it, we hire black-skinned people who are only interested in promoting their own individual agenda.
Right.
Part of being black in America is that we have a common past and a common present. And that's all defined by how we're viewed. We're viewed as a monolith. There is no differentiation among black people. Mm-hmm. Get a black face, we've satisfied the diversity initiative.
Right.
That's why Karlstrom says getting people is not the hard part.
Right.
It's keeping and promoting those people. And that's where we move from diversity to strategic inclusion. You see, in HR, in human resources, we have an acronym called ADR, attract, develop, and retain. We can attract people.
Right.
Money on the table will bring people in.
Will attract you, right.
Yeah. But can you develop people? Developing of your talent shouldn't be accidental. It should be intentional. We should have more people at different levels of the organization, at all levels of the organization. But when you come into the organization and you are sort of shuttled into Negro jobs, Negro positions, and there's a perception of what you can do and what you can't do based on your color, and nobody's ever asked you about your own individual skill set. And so what we need to begin to do is make sure that black people understand that every success we have means that we're going to lose certain black people. In other words, let me put it this way. We agitated to get black people into corporate America.
Right.
And we get them in there, and some of them just stop and go, I'm in. That's it. I'm over. Mm-hmm. The movement helped me. But I put it this way, and I've said this before on your show. If you succeed and did not suffer, someone suffered before you. And if you suffer and do not succeed, someone will succeed after you. But we have an obligation as a people to help each other, to realize that our individual futures are intertwined with how we're perceived as a people. So we need people who will speak truth to power, mm-hmm. who will speak truth into existence. When you're asked your opinion about how's our company doing, is our company doing well in our diversity initiative, and you're sitting there and you have a pretty good position, you go, yes, sir, I think we're doing fine. You're lying. You're lying. You should say, we could do better. You know how the organization works. You know how the organization is arrayed. You know how it's configured. Mm-hmm. You know that there are people who have hit the ceiling the day they walk in. You should say, you know what? We have not promoted, developed black talent. And to that extent, we have not exploited our full potential as a company.
And therefore, we're not going to get all the revenue we can get. We're not going to get a share of the consumers out here, and we can increase our volume if we can meet these internal diversity goals with the right people.
That's right, Joe. At the end of the day, the board of directors are interested in one thing: revenue, share, and volume.
Right. Now,
that's what they're interested in.
Let's close out your books. Your 2 books are available, I take it, still online?
Yeah, the Black Over White, which is, what is it like being a black manager or boss?
Yeah.
And I talk about the success strategies. And that will be an ebook next week on Amazon.
Okay.
On Kindle.
Great.
And iBooks.
And then Striving While Black. Mm-hmm.
That's just saying, when you walk into a corporate environment, you've not had a lot of people that have come before you. So my book is saying, let me be your father or your brother or somebody who's been in there, and let me just pull your coattail and let you know what to expect. Because we go into corporate environments and we think everything that we should know is written. Well, I got to tell you, the norms of an organization are not written. The values of the organization are not written.
Mm-hmm.
The only time you know you violated a norm is after you violated the norm. Then you find out.
That's right.
Okay. Then you go. Then somebody pulls you over and goes, "You know what, Joe?
Yeah.
What you just did, you shouldn't do.
You shouldn't do, and don't do it again.
Don't do it again."
But I got to tell you, in the Striving While Black, I have used over and over and over and over again the Doberman Pinscher versus Lapdog approach.
Oh, yeah.
Over and over again. And every time I see President Obama in a tough situation like he is now, I think about Kwame Salter's What's the Difference? How did you survive?
I was a Doberman.
You were the Doberman.
And the Doberman is a proud dog. It's a dog that is a good, loyal dog, but you can't abuse a Doberman. You just can't abuse it. Richard Pryor's routine where he talks about the thief walks into your house and the Doberman says, "Come on over here. Here's the jewelry.
Yeah,
here's the money."
Yeah.
And then the thief gathers it all and starts to walk out, and the Doberman says in a deep, almost satanic voice, "Where do you think you're going?" You're not leaving.
Yeah.
So we are so often, we want to please. We
Yeah.
think that our success is dependent on pleasing people. Our success is dependent on being honest, truthful, and helping our companies be successful.
That's right.
You don't contribute to your company by pretending that they are actually doing the right thing. Companies respect, ultimately, honesty.
Yep.
My bosses would always say, "I'm coming to you because I know you're going to tell it like it is."
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And
if we know how it is, we can have a strategy to correct it.
And you're the one that survives.
Right.
You're the one that survives. Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Well, look, both books are on our bookshelf. I do hope people, again, if you haven't ordered it, if you haven't gotten it, please, people, rush out and get it. They're very small paperback books. It's almost like a small manual. And this is, and I don't care whether you're white or black, you must read this if you're in any kind of business relationship. But I did think about you when I saw this Huffington Post piece. And
I appreciate it.
No,
You know what, Joe? Let me quickly add that of that $1 trillion, in the areas of our expenditure, the area of least expenditure for us is books.
That's right.
We spend billions of dollars on most things. We spend about $300 million on books.
Mm.
As one friend of mine used to say, if you want to hide something from black people,
put it in a book. Right. Put it in a book. Thank you. Appreciate you for taking the time, and we'll talk again.
Okay, thank you.
Our best
you have a good day, and thank you for all you do for us.
Hey, you got it, man.
Okay.
Kwame Salter, let me tell you, one of my early mentors when I was a freshman in college was Kwame Salter. He's always been that enlightening.